Hello there and welcome back. Now let's go into depth with the perspective rules and let's start with the cube. In this lecture I'm going to use a basic ruler just to make things more clean for you to understand and don't get too messy. You can use that or you can just draw very roughly as I did in the first lecture. The main point is for you to understand the principle behind the perspective and how this changes the way we see the object and the main thing, the cube. Now let's draw the perspective line and assume that this is our horizontal line here. And let's assume that we have a cube. And I'm going to talk about now 1 point perspective and 2 point perspective and what is the difference between them. Now let's assume that we have a point, a vanishing point. A vanishing point is the point where all the lines are disappearing in the distance. You know, when you look at, for example, the railways, if you're in a railway station, you can see a very clear example how the lines disappear in the distance. It's not because the railway gets smaller, it's just because the perspective is changing your perception of how they disappear and get smaller and smaller in the distance. This is basically the simplest way for me to explain it. So let's assume this is our vanishing point where our lines disappear 1 point and we don't see the cube anymore or the lines anymore. And let's assume we have one cube below and above the perspective line. Now, if we have a perspective with one vanishing point, it means that all the sides of the cube will be perpendicular to our horizon. So it means if we have a cube, let's assume it's one over here, and we are going to see this cube from the front, and that vertical lines are perpendicular to the horizontal line. So we'll just have one over here, and we'll just track one over here, and we'll make the other line over here. It's parallel to the horizontal line. So there is no difficulties in that. I'm just going to draw these lines and drag the line for the other two cubes because they are exactly the same. Their two sides are vertical lines are perpendicular or parallel to the horizontal line. Let's have one on the horizon and one, I'm not going to have place. Let's have one above the line and above the horizontal line and one below. And I'm going to draw one here, and I'm going to eyeball the cube over here. So these are the front sides of these cubes. So how would we decide which sides of the cube we see? Well, one thing is that every corner of the cube, this one and this one, connects to the vanishing point here. Let's do that. Let's connect all those lines, even those that are behind the cube, to the vanishing point of the cube. And this one here, and let's do that with the other cube. So you can be as precise as you want to be. You can draw that pretty quickly just by hand if you want to. But it's a kind of a relaxing exercise. At the same time, if you don't want to get too technical, this can be a little boring. I can totally understand that. But when you know that already, it will come naturally to you. It will get built up in your system, and you will not have to think too much about the lines and what to connect, what not to connect. You will just know it. So how do we decide where the cube ends? Well, it's basically, there is no the right way to measure it. Well, there could be, but I'm not gonna get too technical. I'm just gonna assume that the cube, the other side, is ending over here. So I'm just gonna draw one line here and one line here. So this line here that is intersecting, the line of each side that is intersecting with the other parallel line of the back side of the cube describes basically what side of the cube we're going to see in perspective. The same here. Now the intersecting lines for the lower part of the cube, because now we have a cube that is above our perspective line, our horizontal line. This will decide what line we are going to see over here. And now, if we want to see where the other lines are here, what we'll do is take each point of these corners of the cube, and what you do is you just draw a perpendicular line downwards, and here you do it with the other point, like that, and same here for the upper cube. You just connect this point here up, and you just draw another perpendicular line up. And what you get here now is two new points where the lines of the cube crosses, which is this line, this point, and this point. And what does it give us? It gives us the back side of the cube. Now I'll draw as if the cube is transparent. So I'm just gonna connect that. And here, where are those points? Obviously they're here and here. Just it has to be precise so it doesn't become twisted. So it's approximately over here. So from all this mess, I'm just going to make the lines very thick here so you can see exactly how we got the cube. Now these are the front side of our cube. This is the side we see, and this one is the side we see. And here from the cube that is below our horizontal line, these are the sides we see, and these are the back side of the cube, as if the cube is transparent, in case we need to know exactly where the cube is standing, which we will do for later purposes, also to show you how to draw the shadows of this cube. So this is basically a very simple way to explain one-point perspective and how you basically decide your perspective. This applies to the cube. If the cube is lower down, it means that you will see more of this part, is going to be more open. Or if the cube is more up, and until it comes to the top, if you look straight up, you will see just the lower part of the cube. Or if the cube is just below, straight down of where you're standing, you'll see just the upper part of the cube. So now I'm going to explain the two-point perspective in the next lecture.